Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Gavin Courtney,
And I'm Paul Lopez.
and this is Open Your Eyes. Good morning. It's a great morning. We do apologize for the little late start this morning. We were experiencing some technical issues, but we are here now.
Yeah.
We're happy to be here. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning.
It is loving the weather, Gavin. Loving the weather as I've been enjoying it over the past few days.
Oh, for sure. You know, I always say on the show that I love cold fronts and stuff. So the
Definitely.
mornings and stuff like this are always perfect for me.
Yes.
But of course, since we did start a few minutes late, we got to keep things moving. So let's jump right into it, and we can start with some morning motivation. I think that's a great way to
Definitely.
start the morning.
I agree.
And so it's time for our eye opener, and our eye opener is, as usual, taken from dailyom.com, and it goes something like this. We can avoid giving away our power on a daily basis by listening to our own voice of knowing. In many ways, we are taught from the time that we're children to give away our power to others. When we were told to kiss and hug relatives or friends of the family when we didn't want to, for example, we were learning to override our inner sense of knowing and our right to determine for ourselves what we want to do. This repression continued, most likely in many experiences at school and in situations at work. At this point, we may not even know how to hold on to our power, because giving it away is so automatic and ingrained. As we build a relationship with our power and follow it, we begin to see that we don't always have to do what we're being asked to do by others, and we don't have to jump on every trend. All we have to do is have the confidence to listen to our own voice and let it guide us as we make our own decisions in life, and remember the necessity for balance. Right? Some powerful words.
That's some very powerful words. It's about owning your power and owning your ability to do what it is you feel is right to do, because I mean the motivation is so right. There's so many people in this world that wants to tell us what to do and that would like to guide our lives in a certain direction, but we know that inner feeling. We have that inner sense as to when something is right for us to do, when something is wrong for us to do, when this is the right direction and this may be the wrong direction. But oftentimes I feel like we, myself included, just cave into the pressure of the request, and there's nothing more peaceful than to say, you know what, I'll take this decision and I stand on it, even if the ground falls in on me. At least I know that I'm happy with the decision I made.
Yeah, and you know, that it's you're correct in saying that, and just like what the eye opener says, it's a behavior that we learn from when we're very young.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, when your parents tell you, don't talk or don't this or do whatever. Or maybe you had the experience that like maybe you're going to like maybe your aunt or even your mom's friend's house, and she tells you automatically if she's living there, you have to do everything that she says or so and so and so. And so it's something that you learn, and there are times when, because you've learned that sort of a behavior, even when you have an instinct to tell you to do otherwise, you still kind of submit or you do what other people request you to do, even though it may not feel right.
Right.
And so it takes a long time to unlearn that sort of thing.
I agree.
But it's also, once you recognize, and well, that's the first thing, being able to recognize that you have that power.
Yeah.
Then second of all, to use it. It's a whole learning process, but just like what you said, once you do have that power, once you take ownership of it and you make your own decisions, then whatever happens, at least you can have that sort of sense of comfort, if you will, that at least, you know, it's something that I chose for myself, and it's not because You didn't, because a lot of times, you find yourself doing things, when you do things for other, you find yourself agreeing to things.
Yeah.
And then right after you do that, you think, why did I do that? And then you have,
Exactly.
because you have so much things to do.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and then when you're doing the thing, then you're almost like resentful of it, right? Because you didn't really do it out of a genuine desire.
Yeah, and it's a form of doing something with resentment is a form of rebellion as much as doing it because you decided to do it, which is another form of rebellion. So
For
it's
sure.
which form of rebellion do you choose? I think that's my question for this morning.
Absolutely. And I think we've got our weather on the line, so we're going to keep things moving and we're going to get our weather update. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Gavin. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. And we've got Catherine Cumberbatch, our forecaster, on the line to give this morning's weather update. Catherine, what are we expecting today?
Okay, I'm Gavin. For the next 24 hours, we could expect mostly sunny skies and partly to cloudy, partly to clear skies during the nighttime. I'm sorry. In respect to rainfall, we are expecting little to no rainfall to occur over the next 24 hours. The high temperatures for today will be 85 along the coast, 88 inland, and 75 over the mountains. Tonight, the low temperatures will drop to 72 along the coast, 69 inland, and 60 in the hills. We are still experiencing that pool of cool air from the cold front that crossed the country on Friday into Saturday. The high pressure ridge over Mexico is still causing a pool, still have an effect by giving us a pool of cool air, Garvin. 1 minute.
Well, I'm definitely enjoying the cool weather.
Yes, so that is what we expect today, and as it pertains to the winds will be coming out of the north and northeast at 5 to 15 knots, and this sea state will be light sharp. The outlook for Tuesday night is for partly cloudy skies with only isolated showers.
Okay.
Yes, so for the next 24 to 48 hours, Gavin, we are expecting generally fair weather to continue to prevail across the country. In the tropical weather outlook, no tropical cyclone formation is expected during the next couple of days. So good weather is over us for the next 24 to 48 hours.
Well, Catherine, thank you so much for giving us that update. It's one that I'm looking forward to, that the weather will still be quite mild.
Yes, it will be still mild and cool for at least for the next 2 days.
Okay.
You get the cool early morning temperatures, then the temperatures jump very low in the morning, very cool, mild temperatures.
All right. Well, Catherine, thanks for that.
Okay, you're welcome, Kevin. Have a great day and stay safe.
All right, you
Same
too.
to you.
All right, bye.
All right, Gavin. So there we have it. We could look forward to some cool weather for the next couple of days.
Oh yeah. So I'm really enjoying that.
Definitely keep it coming. It's near Christmas, right? So
Right? Yeah, exactly. We're getting closer to that time of year.
Definitely.
And then another thing that I was talking about, I think I spoke about it last week with Marlene, is that I always find that at this time of year, you notice that when it gets darker so much earlier, it seems like that happens overnight. It's like all of a sudden one day at 5:30 it's dark.
Yeah, you know my laptop at my desk, it has something to do with the time change, right? But my laptop on my desk also changes time with whenever the time changes in the world. I'm not sure how that works.
Yes.
Right. So yesterday I was kind of thrown off track because I recognized it yesterday. I was like, wait, what's happening here? It doesn't feel like the time it's supposed to be, and then I realized the time changed. And so yeah, that was just a little experience due to the time change.
And I know a lot of people also are noticing that maybe their favorite TV show is now starting a bit earlier, is an hour earlier. That's usually my cue. And so it's that and the thing about the sunset always takes me by surprise, even though it happens every year. Okay. But of course, we got to keep things moving and talk about our show. We have a lot of interesting conversations lined up for this morning. Our first conversation, we are going to be hearing all about this year's Children's Parliament, and we are going to be hearing from representatives from the House as well as UNICEF, and that's going to be our first topic this morning.
And in our second conversation, we'll be taking a comprehensive revision of COVID cases and demographics. So we'll be looking deeply into those numbers and what they mean in terms of COVID cases. And we have with us for that discussion Dr. Francis Morey, and he is a Deputy Director of Health Services in the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
And our third and final conversation for this morning, we are going to be getting an update, or actually we're going to be learning for the first time about a very new nonprofit organization that's called the Optimist Club, and that is going to be our last conversation for this morning. And then I'm going to close things off by giving you a little bit about what's trending on social media lately with Trending Talks on Tuesday. So that is our show for this morning. And we are going to be taking a very short break, and when we come back, we are going to be joined by guests to speak all about the Children's Parliament for this year. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this Smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our Smart service, we pay an average about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to Smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
The TV you love is always with you, from live TV, sports, and on-demand titles. Choose your plan today. Plans start as low as $15 per month. My TV. Entertainment anytime, anywhere.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 5 Caribbean Media Awards for 2019 and 2020. Best Television News Item, Best Responsible Coverage of Children's Issues, Best Health Education Journalism, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with special mention by the jury in the Best Television News Item category.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Whether you're at home, on the road,
at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Once someone is vaccinated with the COVID vaccine, within 1 to 2 weeks, you begin to develop some immunity against COVID disease. However, it's only after about 4 weeks after the first dose that you begin to have up to 70% protection against serious disease. So this is why it's important to get your second dose when it is due, because that gives you up to 90% or more protection against severe COVID.
Been drinking all night, feeling so high, better not drive, won't even try. Been drinking all night, feeling so high, better not drive, ain't gonna try. Been drinking all night, feeling so high, better not drive, ain't gonna try. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. People die every day, I'm not going with ya. I'ma find my own way, I'm not going with ya. It's okay, I'll wait. Even good people make mistakes. I don't wanna realize when it's too late. Drinking and driving is never safe. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. Been drinking all night, feeling so high, better not drive, ain't gonna try. Been drinking all night, feeling so high, better not drive, ain't gonna try.
We're back, and if you're joining us right now, we're getting our first conversation for this morning started. And as we said before the break, we are discussing this year's Children's Parliament. And joining us for this morning's discussion, we have the Honorable Valerie Woods, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. We have Paulette Wade, Monitoring and Evaluation Specialist from UNICEF, and we are also joined via Zoom by Carolyn Trench-Sandiford, who is the President of the Senate. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Loud and clear.
Yep. And ladies, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, and this is a topic that we love to discuss every single year. But actually, for the benefit of maybe some of our viewers who aren't so familiar, maybe we can just start by talking just about giving a build background as to what exactly the Children's Parliament is and what it hopes to achieve. Perhaps, Paulette, you could
Okay.
take that one.
Yes, yes. While I'm the monitoring and evaluation specialist for UNICEF, today I'm representing the National Steering Committee for the Children's Parliament. And so the general objective of that Children's Parliament is to give an opportunity and a space for children to voice their concerns on issues that are affecting them. One of the premise by which the National Commission for Families and Children was built was on children's participation and making a space for children in decision making. And so we feel that the Children's Parliament, being on the World's Children's Day, demonstrates that commitment from government to give children the space to be able to air their concerns.
Yeah, I think it's so important in a time and an age like this that we live in, where children don't often get their voices heard. One, because they're locked up at home most of the time and they just use social media perhaps, but they're not in the classroom setting, sharing their concerns and stuff like that. How much of the conversation within Children's Parliament surrounds those issues that are directly affecting these children, issues that they may be able to connect with the larger picture in terms of national issues?
Well, one of the things that the children who were selected were asked to identify were their top 2 issues that they saw as concern, and they would like for the space to be able to discuss that. The topic that had the highest score was crime and violence. Second by adolescent health, looking at mental health and teenage pregnancy.
Wow.
So the top was crime and violence, so that will be the focus of the Parliament.
And from the government's perspective, what does this sort of initiative sort of represent for this and the importance of involving children in a project like this?
Well, it would be from the Parliament's perspective.
Parliament, yes, I should say, sorry.
Well, this is the second time that Belize is hosting a youth parliament. We call it Children's Parliament. And that's really only because of COVID, I believe, correct, Paulette, why it wasn't held last year. And the importance for Parliament, you know, it's really if you will, a critique of how our youth views the Parliament, because the way they portray it will be either a reflection that they are satisfied with what they see and they emulate it, or they do better and they show us, the adults, a vision of how they'd like to see their Parliament be conducted. It's very important as well, because oftentimes in national matters of legislature in particular, we do tend to forget the perspectives of our youth. Yet it is the very youth who we try to encourage to be our future leaders and to be future representatives. And so it's important that they not only do do the part of the debating, but understand the entire process. One of the significant changes in this year's Parliament is that it's not just focused on the House of Representatives, it's the entire legislative process. So it's House of Representatives, I believe it's a bill, correct, Paulette,
Yes.
that you're all doing? Is bringing a bill to debate in the House, goes through that process, and then it goes to the Senate. So this time you'll get a feel of what that experience is in terms of the Senate, which is very different than the House. And then after the Senate, getting assent and confirmation by way of the Governor General. So it gives them this year a better appreciation of the full cycle or process of the legislature. And that's really, I have to say, kudos or thank you to the collaboration between NCFC as well as UNICEF and us, trying to ensure that this year that is how it's done. First time around, it was strictly on the House.
Right. So perhaps we could get a comment from the President of the Senate in terms of what are you looking forward to seeing in the Children's Parliament when it comes to the Senate?
Good morning again, and thanks certainly for the opportunity to be here. Madam Speaker, it's great to see you as usual. We tend to be having these virtual meetings. And Paulette, always a pleasure to see you. We don't get to see each other often. But from the Senate's perspective, I think I want to start by congratulating the team for including the Senate this year. As was said previously, the Children's Parliament or the Youth Parliament primarily focused on the House of Representatives. And so it's important, first of all, for the nation as a whole and the children as well, because we are looking at this through the lens of children, but at the end of the day, as many persons would know, many Belizeans don't fully understand or appreciate the process of Parliament and what Parliament represents. Oftentimes, as said by Madam Speaker, the link is only to the House of Representatives because oftentimes the resident is linked to the area representative. They vote for an area representative. So when the House of Representatives is in session, they look to their representative. At the Senate level, it's different because it's representatives of the political parties as well as representatives of the social partners. So clearly, it's a different scenario. And are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, great. Yes, it's a different scenario because now we're beginning to see a different perspective on the legislature, not just from the political lens, but also from the lens of the social partners, which include the business, the unions, the NGO community, as well as the church. Wow. And so from the perspective of the Senate, clearly you're going to then widen or broaden and deepen the perspective that comes from the children. So to my mind, that is very important. Another reason why it's also very important for us is to understand that the Senate as an upper house also has sort of, as was said by Canada's first Prime Minister, that second sober thought or that second sober lens. And often, and we've had cases where bills have entered the lower house, but when they reach the upper house, there were additional changes and bills are actually sent back to the lower house. And I can tell you that that in itself is a conversation, because then you begin to see really where the second sober thought comes in, because it is not solely, as I've said, from what happens in the lower house, which is from the political lens. And then finally, of course, it doesn't become law unless it reaches the desk and is signed by the Governor General. So it gives not only the children, who is this generation and the next generation of leaders, to really see the process throughout and to also see, in my mind, entry points that can make changes to legislation that affect their lives and the lives of their families and their communities. So that is that great space, like have been said before. And so from the perspective of the Senate, I am looking forward to seeing that those multiple voices coming from varying perspectives that is going to take the bill through a second, to use the word, sober and sound process.
And how are the participants selected?
Earlier in August, a call was sent out. It was on all the partners' website, was on the NCFC, UNICEF, Special Envoy, BAPTA, all the partners that are part of the National Steering Committee for this. And then the applications could have been received there. So children were able to apply. It's open, there was no restriction. You apply, well, restricted by age, because you had to be 13, between the ages of 13 and 17 to apply. And so applications were received from over 131 persons, and then there was a selection committee that selected those persons who were considered to be part of what we were looking for, because we didn't want just from one area. What we tried to ensure is that all districts were represented, rural and urban equally as well. I think the only place not represented this time is San Pedro. But we do have 8 children that were from the Keys. So that's how they were actually selected. In terms of what post they will hold or what position, they all had to do a video on what it is that they wanted who they wanted to represent, and speak about why they should be chosen. And then they were selected from this committee, and the committee also for this included as well the past parliamentarians. There were 4 of them that were included as well to select those persons for the post. And so we have the children already selected. They have already gone through 2 sessions of training. The group session with all of them is done online via Nexus that UNICEF has for this space for young people. And then the face-to-face sessions are happening, well, it started last week, Saturday, in Orange Walk, taking the children from Orange Walk and Corozal. And then over this weekend, they go into Belmopan, taking the children from Cayo, Belmopan, and Stan Creek, and then Punta Gorda.
Is this the same process that was used for this to select the children that participate in the Senate as well?
Yes,
so it's the same
for all
process.
children, yes.
What are some of the inspirations that these children listed in terms of why they decided that they wanted to be a part of this?
Well, one resounding theme is that they want to be the voice of their peers. Regardless of what topic they chose, that was one theme that was consistent throughout. They felt that they were the voice of their peers and they wanted to speak for those who were voiceless. And so I want to say that, you know, I think that these children who actually want to be a part of this parliament are really dedicated to the process and really see themselves as future leaders.
And if I can add, in addition to the actual legislative process, it's providing an opportunity for them to also appreciate what goes on behind the scenes for any parliamentary meeting. So they get to understudy the roles of the clerk, the deputy clerk, the mace bearer, understand the functions, because there is an administration that occurs that is not well known to the public, but that makes the machine works, if you will. So that's another aspect of it as well for these youths. There are some one-on-one, in-person sessions with some of the positions. For example, the Speaker, the President of the Senate, I believe the Governor General as well, yes. The Clerk and or Deputy Clerk as well. And that will allow those persons, along with the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, to fully appreciate those roles in the system.
Is there any involvement with parliamentarians themselves in terms of them interacting, children getting an opportunity to meet the leaders in their community and kind of
I know that's part of the process,
yes.
correct, Paulette?
Yes,
where they do one-on-ones as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that coming.
Yes, that's a part of the process. It was something that we felt was a best practice from the last time, to give them that kind of opportunity to be able to hear, to engage, you know. So yes, we will continue that next week.
Yeah. It's also good, if I can add, one thing that they did, that I say they, UNICEF and CFC, is they analyzed what worked well in the first youth parliament, what didn't go so well. And then they collaborated to try and address those areas that needed improvement. Then they approached us at the parliament. And then one of the things the president and I both cited is it needed a clear weakness was that it needed to be the entire legislative process, not just the House. And I think that it's an excellent case study for any events that are held annually or intended to be held annually, that we go back and check what worked, what didn't work. So it's a continual improvement, not just for the organizers, but for the participants themselves, to get as much as they can out of it.
How does these discussions in the Parliament result in some sort of change, in some sort of documentation when it comes to the issues that arise? How does those discussions translate into real world change, if any at all?
I will leave that to both you and Madam.
Well, thank you there, Paulette. We've only had one parliament, youth parliament in Belize, and so it's a little bit, I think, too premature for us to assess how it should be done, especially because, or the result, the outcome of it, especially because it was interrupted, unfortunately, due to COVID. However, when one holds something like, an event like this, the idea ought to be, and that is part of the reason why there's interaction with real current parliamentarians, leaders of the country, is that after the event is over, a report is done, and the voice or the concerns of our youth would then be presented to our leaders, which really ought to be used by them to reflect on how they can adjust, if in this case I believe you're saying it's crime and violence, how they can take in the perspective of the youth in their initiatives to stem that issue or to address that issue, whether addressing it is legislatively or otherwise. It really is also a moment for leaders to take pause. When your youth present a mock parliament with a mock bill, and how they debate it, and how they learn to disagree while being respectful, which is something I think stood out in the first youth parliament. Everybody online who watched that commented on the refreshing.
Well, I was going to ask, because the Parliament is the discussions that happen there in the regular Parliament, of course, the Parliament discussion, they're lively.
But that's in the House. Madam President would readily agree that that's in the House. That is not the discourse
but
or
you're
the
saying
rapport in the Senate.
we're seeing something different when it comes to the discussion among the children.
Right, and they are telling you what they want to see by the way they are debating it there in the House, and how they are going around, how they are addressing the obvious aspect of it is okay to disagree. We will never get consensus. That would be a rare thing. But in disagreeing, we also can respect one another and bring dignity still to the institution of Parliament. But like I said, the first Parliament was based strictly on the House. I think we can all agree that currently the Senate, Madam President certainly should be able to attest to that and do more on it in terms of the rapport is very different because the makeup is different, the perspective is different. And I think it's going to be interesting this time around to see how we can get that perspective portrayed to the public as well.
President?
I will only add to Madam Speaker's words by saying two quick things. One, I think the members of the House particularly are politicians, and they go to the polls and they represent themselves for their constituents to vote. So I would want to believe that they would take the message that comes out of the Children's Parliament as very important in terms of their legislative role and perhaps for those within the executive. The age groups actually for the Children's Parliament is really saying that they're going to be voting in the next elections. And more importantly, as was voiced by Paulette, is that they are representing the voice of the voiceless because their age group can't vote right now, but their age group is going to vote. And so it's important for those members of the both houses to take into consideration the message. that they're sending. And I think also if the children have gone to the effort of actually preparing a bill and passing a bill, why not then look at it and see the merits and the value of it in terms of strengthening the delivery of services to young people? Because if what we're hearing from the children, that crime and violence, and now you're talking about a significant amount of young people within that age group. If you're who makes up the majority of our population, we continue to say, if they are citing crime and violence as the #1 issue, then they're saying to the government and they're saying to the legislature that we want this issue to be addressed. And so it's very important that both the executive branch and the legislative branch take that into consideration. I think also one has to be mindful that within the legislature, there is also a role for a private bill. And so it does not necessarily mean that this bill has to come from the executive. This bill can also come from another member, either in the House, the House of Representatives or the Senate. They can take a look at this bill and see what is within this bill that can add value to what already exists. And as was said, take it and then go run with it, because this is an extraordinary amount of effort that has been put in by the collaboration between UNICEF, the NFCA, and the Parliament. And so if you can take a bill, then it adds to what I call the best practice, right, Paulette? We can then take a look at it down the road and say, this did not just end up with a one day, but this actually end up with that voice, as you quite rightly pointed out earlier, that voice being elevated and that voice being forwarded, because oftentimes it is said that politicians think they have a monopoly of ideas. And the reality is no. Young people, everybody has ideas that they in terms of solution solving. This represents a voice of young people, and they're saying, this is what we want to deal with, and this is how we're saying a piece of legislation can do it. Then let us drill down into the merit of it post the Children's Parliament.
Yeah. And have you gotten feedback from the participants in relation to perhaps what their view is of the practices that we do see in Parliament?
Well, Gavin, I should be getting that Thursday. Yes. And I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, these youth would have been maybe, 10 or thereabouts the last time that the youth parliament was held. Not so sure if they watched it then, but for example, the young Alexander Munoz from Muffles College will be taking up the role of speaker, and he is 16. So it would have been in his freshman year, perhaps, that he tuned in to the first youth parliament, and perhaps have tuned into real parliamentary discussions since then. And I'm looking forward to see if he's done the same with this new parliament and to get his critique. It's so, we can never forget that whatever legislation currently, real legislation that comes before the House and the Senate, the impact is on generations to come. And these youth, by doing this, these children putting a mock bill, and I believe it will be about crime and violence, they're telling you, they're speaking to you and geographically representative as well, what it is that they're not seeing being done. Now, it could be, as Madam President alluded to, that our leaders can run with that and perhaps consider the bill, mock as it is, in the future, or can revisit existing legislation to see where they can be strengthened because of what these youth will be doing on November 20th. But I think we can never forget, with or without a youth parliament, the decisions being made in the House and the Senate, yes, they affect us, but the lasting impact is on generations to come. And so it's important that on the 20th, the leaders, while they will not be there, they tune in to listen to what these people are saying, because it is in a few years not just about voting, but they are representing the very areas that they are representing in the House. And so they're screaming almost, they're shouting at you, saying, this is not enough, this is what we need in reference to crime and violence. So I think it's an important opportunity, an excellent opportunity, and how timely for Belize, given what we've been experiencing, especially with our violence against our youth. A very timely discussion, so I'm intrigued about it to see what they will be saying.
Right. So, in terms of the mock bill, as you would put it, what was the preparation process going into that? And is it that the youths, the children involved, are the ones that are fully behind developing this document?
Well, as I mentioned before, they are the ones who, first of all, selected the area of focus for the bill. And so there have been several opportunities, I want to say learning and knowledge sharing, where various members from the committee have really reached out to them and provided them with some knowledge as it relates to the bill and as it relates to actually communicating the bill and be able to speak. So there are several levels that has occurred. In terms of the bill, I am learning this process as well, but Mr. Webster has been very, very significant in supporting us, and also I won't want to say teach, but sharing his knowledge with the young persons so that they're able to understand what is a bill, what's the process that this bill needs to go through. What we can do is to support them in terms of showing them how to research, because there is a research component. It's they need to find the data, and so we can support them in terms of the research to find the data to be able to present what they want to present, and then they're the ones who draft their presentations, and then we can also support them in terms of editing and supporting them in how to deliver their presentations.
I was just going to clarify, it's the Office of the Clerk that Paulette is referring to in terms of the assistants. And I do believe they had touched base also with the Office of the Attorney General, because that's really how bills are even, and motions are even presented. They get drafted by legal personnel, and it's the parliamentarians then that get to debate what has been put there before you. I would have to admit, and I say this in front of Paulette, the amount of preparation that goes behind a youth parliament, the public is mostly generally unaware. But what these 12 to 17-year-olds go through, the amount of pre-planning, the training, the preparation, the appreciation of standing orders, learning what words mean, when they can stand up, or on what point of order they can stand up. What does it mean when a bill falls to the floor? What does it mean if it doesn't fall to the floor? The process, as we said earlier, to get the confirmation after it goes through the Senate. And to also provide the examples to them that in this new parliament that we have, the Senate has sent bills back to the House with corrections. And that's a good thing. It doesn't delay democracy, it actually improves it from my perspective. So it's the amount of work that the UNICEF and the NCF team, the steering committee, presented to us when we met with them has a lot to be applauded. I don't think we get to appreciate that. And keep in mind, it's 12 to 17-year-olds. You're talking either primary and high school that is doing this. It's quite incredible, and should be applauded at every time, because it's really what we've been clamoring for. We want our young people to view Parliament in a certain way, to be able to say, it's good to be a doctor and a lawyer and a business person, but hey, it's okay to be a parliamentarian too. And this is why you can aspire to that. But also positions behind the scene. They are very responsible positions. The Office of the Clerk, the role that the parliamentary officers play. These are positions that we don't talk about. because we don't know much about it. And the process that the organizers have gone through has allowed a significant group of our youth across the country to get very familiar and intimate with that.
The leader of the opposition and the prime minister, who are we looking at, who are identified?
Oh, I don't know those names.
I don't know them either.
Okay.
The session will be this evening,
Yeah.
when those persons will be identified to the group. Because
Right.
the training, because we have to do it virtual, has to be after school, and so it's from 4 to 6. So it's, and the last session went from 4 to almost 7. So it's just to show the commitment. But I can share those names with you after this evening.
And Madam President, perhaps you can also speak just a little bit more about, now that the Senate has been added as a component to the Parliament, the preparation side of that. What was the involvement to prepare those participants to engage in that sort of a discussion, or in that sort of process, I should say?
Well, I think I would first have to say I am just engaging with the participants at this point in time. I have mostly been engaging with the organizing committee. And that is simply because at the onset, the Parliament, as the Children's Parliament, as was said earlier, initially the tradition was only for the House of Representatives. So that in itself already had a team organized to go that route. So with the Senate, this represents an added component to it. So what I have been doing is providing as much information as I can as it relates to, say, the standing orders of the Senate, which, while having some commonalities with the that of the House, is different because, again, like I said, because of the nature of the Senate. But I think as important, what is also coming out of this is that the appreciation that the Senate itself is no longer what we would call the rubber stamp. I think for traditionally and for historically, the Senate has continued to had this concept that it was simply a rubber stamp to the House of Representatives. I think out of this, what we have been putting forward is that it is no longer a rubber stamp, but in reality, as Madam Speaker indicated, we've had bills that have been sent back, and we have bills that are still in committee that is still having what we call the added value of the varying perspectives. So that is what we're trying to get out of this, this as well. So this week, I think I will be having my conversations with the president, the person who is supposed to be the president of the Senate, who I welcome. I've seen her video, and I'm very, very intrigued and impressed by what I see. I think she comes from Curacao, if I'm not mistaken. Her name is Miss Roches. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I think after this week, I will be able to respond in terms of what that full interaction would have been.
And we are quickly running out of time, but I did actually want to ask this in terms of what we'll be seeing in terms of the participants and representation from all. We spoke about representation from different parts of the country, but one area in which Belize has had some criticism is that we don't have enough women represented in politics.
I was waiting for it.
Yes, and we have our panel is all female, and so I think the question was just begging to be asked.
Yes.
Is that so? So apart from the geographical factors, those were other. I would imagine things like gender and support were those also taken into account in the selection process.
Yes, it was, and it did come up in the meetings when we met. We specifically asked that there be an effort to improve on the gender representation in both House and Senate. Listen, our reality is that we're dismal. The House is 4 of 31 elected representatives are women. In the Senate, they're doing a much better job. It is 4 of appointed 13. So in terms of percentage, they are doing a lot better. I believe they're at the 30%. But the reality is that we're not there in Belize. However, the Parliament, as it did in the first go-round, as I recall, did do a good job of gender representation in envisioning how we'd like to see our parliament. Let's not forget our population is 50-50 pretty much with male, female. And your parliament, being the people's house, the representation of the people, should attempt to reflect that. That can only be done with more women putting their names on ballots and people throughout the country voting for them. So if we have more youth parliaments showing that, then it reflects what can be, and hopefully in years to come, sooner rather than later, we'll see that better represented. But I very much appreciate the efforts, Gavin and Paul of the steering committee to show better gender representation. It won't be equal. It won't be 50-50.
Yeah. No, actually we had more girls applying, so we had to put an extra.
Yes.
Again, which may be an indication of the future.
Thank you, madam. The future may be female.
Yes, the males. We had less males, so we had to go the extra effort to go back.
That's a nice problem to have.
And to find more males.
And I think also in terms of the two top issues that came out, I think primary violence and adolescent health and teenage pregnancy. I think those are the issues that women advocates particularly like to say we need to hear more of in Parliament. And when you tend to have a more male-dominated Parliament, we don't tend to hear a lot of those issues that really resonate with women and young people. So I think that in itself is good. But I also want to add to what Madam Speaker said, in that if you're envisaging a parliament where there is parity, this is the opportunity for us to show it, because at the end of the day, it is often said that if you don't see something, then how can you aspire for it? Yeah. How can you believe in it? And that has always been the issue where it comes to women in parliament, that we don't get to hear the stories of the great Madam Liz, for example, as to what was her contribution to this country. Our national heroes are still only 2 men. So we don't get to hear what our women have done as a part of, this year I think we celebrated 40 years. And we're still not hearing about what our women's role have been in this great journey for this country. So I think having that gender parity is very important. And I think the very issues that are coming out is really a manifestation of more women and more girls getting involved in Parliament.
The future is female, gentlemen.
Evidently.
Thank you very much.
But of course, we are just about out of time. And of course, the Children's Parliament is once again going to be on the 20th of November. And if people want to see, it will be...
It will be live streamed.
It will be live stream, yes.
All right.
Yeah. On Channel 5.
Yep. We definitely are going to
right here.
Yes, right here.
But ladies, thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, and thanks for the opportunity to get the word out.
Yes. Absolutely. And with that,
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome. And with that, we're going to be taking another short break. And when we come back, we are going to be speaking about some of the latest demographics, the breakdown of the demographics of some of the COVID-19 figures. And we're going to get an update from the Ministry of Health. And that's going to be right after the break, so please stay tuned.
How can we support the emotional well-being of older adults during COVID-19? During the COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly while in quarantine, individuals, including older adults, may become more anxious, angry, stressed, agitated, or withdrawn, especially those who need healthcare assistance or have cognitive decline or dementia. Here are 4 strategies that can help you in supporting an older adult during this difficult time. 1. Communicate information and listen. Present with accurate, simple, and accessible information and facts about the COVID-19 outbreak, its progression, treatment, and effective strategies to prevent infection. Listen patiently to their needs and concerns. For older people with mild cognitive impairment or early stages of dementia, inform them of what is happening within their capacity and provide support to ease their anxiety and stress. 2. Promote positive mental and emotional health. Provide access to available mental health and psychosocial support services, also known as MHPSS services, for older adults and communicate when and how they can access them. Help older people keep regular routines and schedules as much as possible. You can also help them create new ones, including regular exercising, cleaning, daily chores, singing, painting, or other activities. Facilitate regular communication between older adults and their friends and families. 3. Help with medical needs. Make sure that older adults have at least up to 1 month of all the regular medicines that they may require. Explain how to use protective devices in a clear, concise way. Always be respectful and patient. 4. Assist with daily activities. Provide older people with details related to how and where they can get practical help if needed, like calling a taxi, dropping off supplies, having groceries delivered, and requesting medical care, as well as information on any locally available social support programs and services. For more information, consult the webpage of the Pan American Health Organization, www.paho.org/coronavirus.
My name is Dr. Gabriela Guerra. I am the wife of Dr. Kevin Rafael Guerra and sister-in-law of Dr. Kenneth Raul Guerra. Both of them passed due to COVID complications on December of 2020. My husband was the first one lose this battle on December 12th, and 18 hours later, my brother-in-law Kenneth passed away also. My husband and my brother-in-law, they was a troublemakers, double trouble. They had a lot of friends there and make a jokes and everything every time. They never take us seriously, nothing. They was very generous people, very compromised with their career. We share a lot of good times and memories that actually fill my heart, no? And I live from my memories and the time we share together. The worst thing about lose a loved one, no, due to the COVID, is your loved one be alone, admitted at a hospital, without you, without your cares. You can say bye, you can give the last kiss, you can give the last hug. And that's very painful. I think that's the worst thing. I miss the guy shared with me 12 years of my life, the best ones. I miss my son's father, the guy who played with my son every time and tried to teach football techniques to my son. For the ones maybe out there say the COVID not real, okay? Or pain. And the pain for everyone who lose a loved one. It's real, okay? The struggle is real. If my husband or my brother-in-law, they maybe at that time could have the opportunity to get the vaccine, they will not have a problem to say, I will get it, okay? I will get my vaccine. So if you have this opportunity, take it. I hope my testimony helped to change something in your mind. And probably take the best decision the next time when the doctor asks to you if you want to take your vaccine. If you don't want to do it for yourself, try to do it for your family, okay? To be safe, for your country.
Cumpleaños feliz, te deseamos a ti.
Hey son, how was your first day at sixth form?
Really cool. It was great to see my friends, and I really love my teachers.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm sorry I wasn't there for your first day, but I'll be back from Corozal next week.
It's okay, Dad. I can't wait to see you. Oh, and please remember, I still have some books I need to purchase.
Ah, yes. Let me e-cash you that right now. Money has been sent and add a little extra cash just for you.
Whoa, Dad. Thanks. Got it.
You're welcome, sir.
Download the eCash app today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257. eCash, the future is here.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back. And if you're joining us now, we're getting our second conversation for this morning started. And we're shifting gears a bit. We have our COVID-19 update, and we're going to be breaking down some of the latest figures from the COVID-19 pandemic in Belize. And joining us, we have Dr. Francis Mori, who is the Deputy Director of Health Services, Ministry of Health and Wellness. Good morning, Dr. Mori.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for the invite. I think it's been asked before, but I've been somewhat kind of busy. Nonetheless, we're making time out to be a part of this session.
Well, of course, I could imagine how busy, especially considering the topic that we're discussing this morning. But so we're talking about some statistics that have been compiled in relation to the effects of COVID-19 in Belize. Can we talk, first of all, a little bit about how data was compiled and if these numbers are from the beginning, so to speak, of the pandemic?
Yes, certainly. Yeah, what the Ministry of Health does, it has various, it picked up data or information from various areas. This includes the private sector, it includes the public sector, and by this we're referring to that tests that are done at the health facilities, that are COVID units, the different testing areas, for example, the drive-thrus, and the laboratory and at the Central Medical Lab, and our partners with the private sector, and those do testing in the community. So there's various areas of where this information comes from. It's collected, collated, and then my colleagues at the PUDIN, they have the access to data from the BHIS, which is the Belize Health Information System, and from then they put it into various infographics that you see that we are presented on a daily basis. So on a whole, it's very close to what might be the true scenario in our country. And by this I'm saying is, look, we are cognizant that there are some persons who don't come to get tested, some persons who are asymptomatic, and they certainly don't visit our facilities because they don't have symptoms. And so for every case that you have a person testing positive, you may have X amount of persons who are out there who are positive and are acting as carriers, and they're not we don't get them into our data, our daily data, because they don't access services. So that's an X factor that we also have to deal with. Nonetheless, the data that I have that we may have there, I have the information from yesterday that was presented, and we're talking that as of to now, as of when the first case came into country, we have done approximately 321,000 tests, of which 308,000 persons have been tested, Of this, we have 28,162 persons have tested positive. 25,511 have been recovered. And as such, we're talking about this possibility, this figure, it's just an estimate. And those who have recovered falls into that scenario of persons who have been critically ill, those who have been hospitalized in our various ICU units, whether the private sector or the public sector. We're talking about the persons who have been mildly infected. And of course, we give them, at the 14-day period, we give them medical clearance. Also, those who have been moderately affected. And so you're talking about those who have been recovered at various stages of the disease. Those who have had hospitalization within ICU units, who have been infected and spent various up to 2 or 3 weeks within our facilities. And so this is what we're talking about recover. So we're also talking about, as up to now, we're talking about 509 deaths that we've seen within our facilities. This includes male and females, and this includes persons who have been hospitalized in Corozal, Orange Walk, Belmopan, San Ignacio, across the country, and even within the private sector. So that's the amount of persons who have passed away. And the fatality rate is 1.81, which means that out of the total persons who have tested positive, that's a calculation that we get there. As of yesterday, we've had 28 hospitalizations, and we've had 10 ICU admissions. So this is what the ICU would refer to as the persons who are being hospitalized at KHMH. We have a small moderate care unit at Belmopan also that we are able to house these persons who are moderate to critically ill, not the severely ill. And by severely ill, I mean those who actually need to go on assisted respiratory equipment, a ventilator. We're able to do that now at Belmopan. We built some capacities. We continue building capacity in our physicians who are there, mostly the internists and some medical officers, some nurses who have received some level of capacity in dealing with critical patients. So across the country, this is part of what we are doing. The only 2 units who are at this point in time able to ventilate patients are Karl Kushner, I believe Belmopan, and the private sector, which is basically Belize Healthcare Partners and Belize Medical Associates. So that's the scenario in regards to admissions. What we've been seeing is that, for example, if you go back to the first slide, or the presentation I did about 2 weeks ago, it's basically targeting what we're talking about, the course of the illness. And by course of illness, everyone is talking about when you become infected or exposed. Of course, you have to become exposed because you've been in contact with a person who has been showing symptoms or someone who has been asymptomatic and has a high viral load. And by viral load means that the person has millions of viruses circulating within his body at that moment in time. When you at that point come in contact with him, because you're not taking all the public health measures as we request, meaning you're not wearing a face mask, you're not practicing social and physical distancing, and by this mean that particular 6 feet distance, you're not washing your hands consistently, or the person is coughing and he's not exercising what we call cough etiquette. So, and even so, being within that closeness of I believe someone used to call it per feet or something like that, no? That's 6. So not exercising that social distance, physical distancing puts you at risk. So once you're exposed, there's a what you call an incubation period of 2 to 12 days and an average of 5. So within that 5 days, you may start developing symptoms. It's like you come in contact with a person who has a flu, and you go home, and within 2 days you start with all the fever, the cough, the feeling bad, the headache, the sore throat. So this is basically what happens. So you have a window period, and that particular window period of 48 to 72 hours when you start getting sick, that's already your day 5. So at that point in time, when you start, what you call it, you have a mild illness, just a fever, the cough, the sore throat, and it's where you need assistance. You start taking your fever, your Tylenol, your ibuprofen, your cough medicine if you develop a cough. Some of the other symptoms may appear. the muscle pain, the joint pain, rash, the difficulty in breathing. So when at that point in time that you start to develop the cough, and you're seeing that the cough is not allowing you to breathe properly, or that you walk a short distance, you take a shower, and you feel weak, tired, dehydrated, you have severe headaches or back pain, and that shortness of breath or chest pain, and that is basically signaling, hey, there's something wrong. And that goes right into the 7-day period. So the point of concern is that point in time, and that's where most of our patients within the community are not seeking assistance in a timely manner. So at day 7 to day 12, or around that period, is the complicated scenario when you move from what you call a mild disease to a moderate disease. And at this point in time, you're also seeing that for example, your oxygen levels, which is the trigger, which is what we're looking for, begins to decrease. Your respiration goes up. You start breathing faster and faster and shallower and more shallower because you need that oxygen. You start getting tired, weak, and coughing. So that by itself is telling you that you have a point in time that you have a high viral load. And so you have millions and millions of viruses.
And Doctor, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to ask if these the information that you're presenting right now in terms of the onset of certain symptoms and the specific symptoms that you've described just now, that's all based on the direct information that has come out of the health system, whether it be from the ministry or from the private sector?
Well, this is actually, apart from what we are seeing, and also from what the literature is telling us out there. I mean, the evidence that we used, these slides were not from the military. These slides, I got them from various websites, PAHO, and other entities, universities that are over the, what for us started March 23rd, somewhere around there. You're looking into, 19 months now. So it's evidence that has been there, we have accumulated within the last 19 months. But our own experiences that we're seeing is that, for example, many of our patients that are coming to us, and I say this because I visit the units. I don't sit in my office too many days. I move from Corozal to the other districts, looking at the patients and asking my colleagues, the internists, the doctors, looking at X-rays, looking at the patients. So I'm in touch with what is happening in the field.
Dr. Murray, is there any difference in terms of the COVID-19 viral shedding timeline? Any difference that we've seen between the original strain of the virus versus the Delta variants and emerging variants?
Well, certainly, what we saw is that in June, somewhere May, June, when we started seeing the amount of cases coming into being diagnosed on a daily basis, and the severity, and by this I mean how fast these persons were coming into our facilities and getting hospitalized. You were looking at a matter of 48, 72 hours that these persons needed hospitalization. And so that by itself, you were looking at something that was much more infectious. The number of persons who were testing positive in a household was also signal this is not normal. This is not what we were seeing last year when we started with the first wave. And if you may consider for us the first wave was 1 or 2 cases that we saw, or a couple of them, and then I think we went to 18. And then we had a period of up to 51 or 52 days, somewhere around that. We didn't have a case. Yeah. And then in July, August, we started seeing this next wave, and the amount of patients who were being diagnosed suddenly was 2 or 3 in a household with the Delta variant. And when it came with the third wave, which happened somewhere around June, we started seeing persons in a household being much more numbers in a household presenting with the same disease. So the previous one, you would have 1 positive, and you have 5 members in a house, you would only have 1 person positive. As of June to now, what we saw is that you have 5 persons, 4 of them were positive, or all of them were positive. So that by itself triggered something. It's not normal. That's where we began to suspect that there had variants were already in the country, And as you know, we've had, the Gamma, the Alpha, the Delta, Epsilon, they are all in the countries since May or previously. I mean, there was a backlog in us getting the reports, and certainly that's something to have in mind. Nonetheless, the amount of persons who are testing positive, if you note, within the last, as of June to now, we went up as far as 400 plus cases in a day. Over the past couple of days, what I've been seeing is that it has come down to maybe half that amount, and that might be something that is telling us, look, we're reaching our peak of this third wave. We're doing good. Nonetheless, it doesn't mean that we need to let down our guards. It doesn't mean that we don't need to continue vaccinating our population. It doesn't mean that we need to continue partying and having not practicing all the public health measures that we request from the Ministry of Health.
And when we speak about the more serious cases and hospitalizations, have the variants that is also had any bearing on the demographics affected in terms of things like gender or location in the country?
Well, if we move back in time, this second wave started in the northern part of the country, Orange Walk, Corozal, and then it began moving within the last couple of months farther into the country. But nonetheless, we still had various isolated cases, and then we've got a community spread across the country. If you note that, for example, many of those who passed away last year, I think from March last year, I think Mr. Pipersburg was the first casualty, if I recall, and then up to the ending of December 31st, we almost had 320 something deaths. As of March to now, we've had almost 200. So I think we're somewhere 509 deaths within the last from the pandemic started. However, as of June to July, and in the presentation, there's one of the last slides where there's a graph with numbers. We're seeing that the amount of persons who were hospitalized or persons who were passing away last year, June, July, August, September, have been doubled or almost tripled within the last 6 months when we compare the introduction of the Delta and the variants compared to the let's call it normal variant from last year, if you want to use that terminology.
What we see in slide number 9 as it relates to hospitalization by sex and comorbidity, we see that the majority of persons who become hospitalized due to COVID-19, their underlying conditions are recorded as hypertension and diabetes. These are the number one factors, number one and number two, listed in terms of why persons end up in the hospital due to COVID-19. Can you speak to that data a bit?
Yeah, certainly. What we have is that, for example, in Belize, we know that there's a high number of persons who, an unknown number of persons, and I will use that term, because we don't have what we call the incidence, the true incidence and the true prevalence of how many diabetics we have in the country. What we do know is that the number of persons who are passing away are within these two diseases. And by that, I mean that, for example, the northern part of the country, Belize, has, when we did the kidney research that we did with Taiwan in 2018, 2019, we saw that the females in the Orange Walk and Coral districts were of short stature. They were overweight and obese. Diabetes was one of the most significant diseases of concern. And along with diabetes, if you're obese, you have a diet that is not conducive to good health, high salt, you don't exercise, you develop high blood pressure. Some of these patients, as you said, diabetes destroys everything. Diabetes destroys your kidneys, it destroys your heart, it destroys your brain, it destroys all the different sizes of blood vessels And so it takes you down that path of kidney failure. And as when you start with kidney failure, one of the scenarios is that your blood pressure starts to increase. And so diabetes and high blood pressure go hand in hand. And what we saw is that these persons who have these two diseases most certainly are out of control. And by that I mean their numbers are not within what you want. A diabetic person, you want that person to have a blood sugar of 100 to 140, 130 regularly on a daily basis. You want to have that he has an HbA1c, which is another test that tells you an average of a 3 months period of how your blood sugar level is, less than 6.5 or within that number. A hypertensive person, that he has his blood pressure less than 140 and 80 and somewhere around that number. And so it's controlled. But what we're seeing is that these persons, one, they have not been accessing services regularly. And so you may have hundreds of persons who are diabetics out there and don't know they're diabetics because they don't don't realize that the symptoms that they have are of this disease. 95 to, let's say, maybe 99% of persons, more than 90% of persons who have high blood pressure don't even know they have high blood pressure. And so you have persons who are walking out of the street, obese, diabetic, would have high blood pressure of 150 over 100, and that's out of control completely, has never received treatment, and then come into your facility. And they already have some level of damage induced by both these diseases. So what COVID does is produces a dysregulation of a worsening of what is already there, meaning that the diabetes has damaged how the blood vessels function, how they open and close, how the pancreas functions, how the kidney functions. And so what it does, it worsens the disease within a person who's already decompensated for years. And that's where we're seeing the highest numbers of persons passing away. Right. And then by itself, the health-seeking behavior in males to females is historical. Males don't like going to see the physician or a doctor. They don't like going to go. Sorry, and also they fear for needles. Some of them, big 300-pound man or 5 feet 11 inches straight for one needle. So all those things are on the mentality of, well, I'm a man, I'm supposed to provide for my family. I'm not sick. Those are some ideas that pass through the person's mind. Yeah. And so what we saw is that the deaths began to move eventually.
And the data in slide 18 reveals that the majority of those persons who have died from COVID-19 to date are men. In fact, males make up for 61, almost 62% of those persons who have died of COVID-19. Does information like this ever shock you?
Well, certainly it does. I mean, we're also cognizant is that, for example, 1% may not be significant to many persons out there. I mean, for example, with tuberculosis and HIV, the amount of deaths seen in males compared to females is double, triple. So 1% for us might not be significant, but when you tally the numbers, it is of a concern. I mean, it's just telling you that females by themselves have a higher health-seeking behavior than males. Males have a tendency to not be taking their medications compared to females. So the trends and the practices of our citizens in the male population is one of the main factors that allows them for them to come into facilities much more decompensated compared to females.
No.
And does that also have any correlation with the sorts of comorbidities that perhaps do we see higher incidences of that or a disparity between the genders?
Necessarily in certain disease, yes. I mean, the disease, the outcome of how the disease presents itself in male in regards to high blood pressure and diabetes is much more aggressive. It's out of control for various reasons. Like I said, I mean, males, well, not. I mean, the seeking behavior is one of the biggest things, and not taking medications is one of another scenario that contributes to these persons arriving at our facilities, and especially with the Delta variant, which produces liver, kidney failure, lung damage within 48 to 72 hours. We're seeing that persons reach in shock. They have severe respiratory compromise, and once these organs start to fail or are affected, then that person goes downhill farther or worsens much more easier compared to others who come in with at an earlier time in disease, and we're able to assist them much more compared to these who are already come very sick.
Slide 20 shows that the highest numbers of deaths come from the Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital. Is there any reasons related to why more people die at the KHMH from COVID-19?
Well, certainly, Carl Huchner is our only tertiary referral hospital. Last year, within last year and up to now, most of our critical cases were being referred to Carl Huchner. You see, those who are referred are those who are critically ill and severely ill, or those who will have the potential that you identify, because our clinicians, we try to train our clinicians in the districts. And because if you notice, PG doesn't have a machine, a ventilator. There's no capacity to ventilate a person down there.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is, even if you're with oxygen, we were using 3-4 tons of oxygen, giving patients 15 liters of oxygen per minute. And so a patient by himself was using these 100 tons of oxygen, 3 to 4 of these in a day. And so by that, it means that the lung compromise is severe. So that patient, and if he's breathing at 35, 40 times per minute, that person can't stay in PG. So he moves. We move him to Dangrega and ultimately Carl Huchner, because the outcome of this person by itself is he's consuming 3 or 4 tons of oxygen. It means he's already moving on within the clinical course of disease. He's becoming moderately and critically ill and with potential to become severely ill and needing ventilation. So what the numbers of Carl Huchner also reflects the number of persons who are being referred from the district hospitals. And also primarily those who need much more care, because I'll be honest with you, these persons, individuals who are moderately affected, they need a lot of time. They need a physician or a nurse to be consistently checking them like every 4 hours, every 6 hours. It's time consuming. Some of these patients, you ask them to lie down face down for them what you call proning, for that oxygen to expand. You have the cases who are also needed to be put on a ventilator, assisted respiration. So all these cases are what we refer from the districts, and then the numbers from the Belize district that what you've seen in the last, as of June, the outbreak of pandemic in the Belize district per se.
And Doctor, just because we're running out of time very quickly, just before we close off, I just wanted to get a little bit of your to highlight a little bit about the effect of the Delta variant, and we see that in slide, I believe it's number 23, we can see the significant increase in infections and other things. So can you speak just a little bit about that before we close? What we saw based on the impact of the Delta?
Yeah, so we may make reference to 2 slides. There's one with numbers and another a line graph.
Yeah.
I think it comes after this. So what we saw is that if you notice within the months of June, somewhere around there, when we had community spread as of March, when the numbers went down in March of this year, we started seeing isolated cases countrywide, small community spread or clusters continuously. So I believe we were all concerned of, I think, opening of the airports and border jumpers continued, or allowing persons to go across the border and for various reasons. And then we started seeing the number of cases started spiking up. If you notice, some of these numbers coincide with various Belize cities outside starting to have cases, and the number of cases went up exponentially, very, very fast. We saw that certain villages in the southern part of the country, when we had to close down villages, set down, put police guards within that areas. I think it was Sunday Wood, and I don't recall the number of the villages, but I was all in those villages. I mean, we had to do our groundwork and looking for points of control. So we started seeing the numbers going up, and they spread quickly from village to village, and the numbers from within the various communities. So part of that, we started seeing the numbers going up very fast. So if you notice that I think we started in March of this year with sorting about 12 to 14,000 cases, and we are already way up to 26,000 plus positive cases. So within the last 6 months, we've gone from, I think, almost 8,000 plus number of cases have been identified within a few months.
Wow.
So that's good. And if you go back to the next slide, you'll see the number of persons who have been who have passed away or admitted in our facilities.
Let me just ask one final question as we quickly run out of time. Looking now ahead, the next few weeks that we have left in 2021, and you being able to crunch the data, are you seeing that we are now trending downwards in terms of the positivity rate? I know that's something that the population has been looking at, considering the fact that the government and the health experts seem to be using the positivity rate as a gauge to determine the measures that will be implemented. Do we see a trend downward?
Yeah, I think the biggest measure that we, and let me just go off tangent here. I think the best measure that we can do as a community is the personal conscious measure of knowing that, look, we're in a pandemic, you need to exercise due care with your health and with those of your family, primarily because you're out there, you're still taking the disease, the infection back to your household. You may have children in there, you may have persons who have diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney failure, HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, and other diseases of concern, and cancer. So there's, if you notice, there's a big gap continuously in regards to the implementation of key measures.
Yeah.
Because how many of times we've had curfew, and yet you have persons partying out late hours of the night.
Right.
How many of these persons were arrested, and I'm not sure what was done with them, if they were fined or they spent time in jail. That's unknown to me. But if nonetheless, if this type of behavior continues, and we won't be getting rid of COVID right now. The numbers can go down as much as you want into what you call the rho, or the rate of transmission, or the rate of infection. And I think we're still somewhat above 1. I haven't seen the latest data as of today, but I think we're still above 1, which is actively telling that you still have community transmission. As the numbers, as in regards to what you're referring to, we're seeing that the numbers are decreasing. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods as yet. We're still in the danger period. We're still seeing critical cases. We're still seeing persons being hospitalized. And if you notice, the number of hospitalization has gone down. Because I get daily reports at 6 o'clock in the morning, reports start coming in by WhatsApp to my phone. And at 9 at night, sometimes 10 o'clock at night, the latest report comes in regards to how many persons are hospitalized. Don't let that be a sign that we're doing well.
Yeah.
That we still don't heed and continue to exercise due care as to exercising public health measures.
Well, I think, and Doctor, I think that is a good note to close the discussion on, and we are absolutely out of time, so we do have to end it there. But thank you very much for coming in and sharing some of those numbers with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Have
a good day, and please stay safe as well. But with that, we are going to be taking a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be learning all about a new NGO. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
The region of the Americas has a proud legacy of being a global leader when it comes to vaccination. Ours was the first region to eliminate smallpox, polio, rubella, congenital rubella syndrome, and measles. We also eliminated neonatal tetanus. Now more than ever, vaccines play a vital role in keeping us healthy. As we move forward with vaccinating against COVID-19, let us not forget the importance of our routine immunizations to keep us protected against other diseases. Talk to your healthcare provider today to make sure you and your family are up to date with all your vaccines.
Vaccines bring us closer.
Bundle the fastest, most reliable, unlimited broadband in Belize with your prepaid or postpaid mobile plan or Netflix. You can bundle your broadband with your prepaid and enjoy 50% off all national calls, plus get SMS and data. Paid plans? Then bundle with any speed and pay only $25 extra monthly to enjoy unlimited smart-to-smart calls, plus 500 minutes, plus 6,300 megabytes of data. Stream unlimited HD movies and TV shows with our broadband, plus the Netflix add-on for only $30 monthly, and enjoy streaming on your laptop, TV, phone, or tablet. Visit a smart showroom near you to sign up or upgrade to the bundle that's right for you. Smart, bringing people together.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 5 Caribbean Media Awards for 2019 and 2020. Best Television News Item, Best Responsible Coverage of Children's Issues, Best Health Education Journalism, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with special mention by the jury in the Best Television News Item category.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And we're back, and if you're joining us right now, we're getting our third conversation for this morning started and we are learning all about a new NGO here in Belize, and it's called the Optimist Club.
Yeah.
And joining us for this discussion, we have Tifara Panton, who is the PR and Foundation representative, Angela Palacio, who is the director for Belize South, and Bernard Panton Sr., who is the director for Belize Central. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for joining us. We're interested to learn all about this new, or this organization. It's not so new, as we were discussing out during the break. So let's get started by just talking about what the Optimist Club is all about.
Okay, I'd like to do that. My name is Angela Palacio. The Optimist Club is a global club that was formed in early 1900s in the US, and now it's all over the world. Our chapter got started July 27th of this year, 2021, after maybe 2 months of discussion and learning about the club. So we started with having Zoom meetings, and then we were chartered July 27th, 2021. I'd like to give the mission and vision. The mission is by providing hope and positive vision, optimists bring out the best in youth, our communities, and ourselves. And the vision is Optimist International will be recognized worldwide as a premier volunteer organization that values all children and helps them develop to their full potential. And so we hit the road running with our fundraiser, and Tifara can tell us more about that.
Before you get there, I know we live in a day and an age where we're seeking a lot of optimism. We need to be a bit more optimistic, just given the times and all that is happening around us. While you speak to the fundraiser, how does this organization seek to instill optimism in children, youths, and communities? What are the means?
Right. So the Optimist International Group, and our club is called Optimist 501 Belize. The first thing that we do is we live by a creed of optimism, where we encourage ourselves and our members to have an optimistic outlook on life. And from there, we have our main focus on really the youths, because, they are the future. And we focus on looking at areas where the youths might need additional resources, development, and things like that. So we're looking at education, we're looking at health, we're looking at just the general well-being, we're looking at socialization, because we are an interdependent community, so we need to interact with each other. We're looking at mentorships and things of that nature, and that's why we ended up doing our first fundraiser as the repairs to the roof of Wesley Upper School in Belize City. The classroom is pretty much a second home for our kids. So they need to be in an environment where they can focus on their learning, they can focus on socialization, they can focus on mentorship through the interaction with the teachers and the counselors and things like that. So this project we found was really all-encompassing in being able to impact the children that are attending Wesley Upper School.
What is the source of the organization's optimism? Is it in the works you do for the community? Is it in the philosophies that you live by, the thoughts you instill in yourselves? What is the source of that optimism?
I think we definitely start with the philosophy that we live by. We have a creed that's called Optimist Creed. Maybe we should go read it right now. I find it so inspiring. It says, promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. To forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. To wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. To give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. To be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. So it really starts within ourselves, Paul. And you cannot give from an empty cup, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be a full, vibrant person to be able to kind of bring that forth in other people. So we start by being an example of an optimist, our own selves, and then we encourage these same values within everyone that we work with.
I mean, you're so right, and the creed, I love the creed. I think the creed is so personal. It's something you could get up every morning and read. I think each line could take you a long way in the day. I want to bring in Mr. Panton into the conversation. Mr. Panton, welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the show. What's happening in Belize Central? What's the plan out there in Belize Central when it comes to the Optimist Club?
Okay, we are very new, and so as we started up, we actually got involved with a project that we wanted to at least start off with.
Right.
I would be glad for Tafara to give you more into it, but I am also the director for the Central, as you know, and with that, we have an action plan to actually get our stuff together. And my task in that plan is to actually get to most of the organizations and government departments to let them understand what Optimist is all about, what we do, and to kind of open doors so that we could work together. I have already contacted 3 of these organizations. Actually, I've contacted Ministry of Education and 2 other embassies, and I'm waiting for them to invite us in so that we could come in with our executive committee and everybody to explain what we're doing and to let them understand that we want to open doors for the youth. We want to empower them.
Yeah.
That is what we're all about. So right now, we have an action plan ready to move on the project that we have planned. And like I said, if I have more information on that.
And in general, how is it that the organization chooses which topics, which initiatives, I should say, to pursue and which projects?
Well, we have our goals for youth, and our membership is wide enough that all our members are focused on what's happening out there. And when they see anything that meets our goals or our objectives, they will suggest, and that's how we start working and planning on those projects.
If Tafara could come in a bit and tell us about this fundraiser that's happening this year, what's going on there?
Right. Before I get into that, I just want to reiterate quickly what Mr. Panton said. Yeah. Our membership is so wide-reaching in terms of age. We have from the old to the young. And so we're able to have a wide perspective on what needs to be done in the community. So all our projects kind of come from the membership. And interestingly, a lot of our members already had kind of like a charitable background where they're kind of in tune with what's needed, for the improvement of the state of our youths. So this project did come through our Vice President, Ray Gongora, actually, when the school reached out to him to let them see the state of the school. And we have some pictures. It was kind of heartbreaking. We visited the location. If you guys can put up the pictures of the state of the roof of Wesley Upper. Yeah. As I said earlier, children should really be at school focusing on their education, their social development, on mentorship. But, when these kids are in their classroom and Wesley Upper is standards 4, 5, and 6, we're getting ready to send these kids out into high school and into the world, and they're having to focus on, the roof possibly falling in on them, wood lice, mold. When it rains, they have to have buckets in the classroom to catch the the water, they have to move their seats. And so it takes the focus away from what they should be doing, which is learning, and growing and developing. And, what was inspiring at least about this situation was, the energy of the students. You go in and the roof is in such a horrible condition, but you see that, the teachers are still putting up their, decorating their classroom and trying to create the best positive environment for these kids. But, can you imagine teaching or even sitting there trying to learn in a situation where you're not sure if the ceiling is going to fall in from you, So when we went in, school is out right now, so they're beginning to take down the ceiling, and now you kind of just have the roof there and, water coming in whenever it rains. So we decided that this was really a great project to start our first annual fundraiser with, because it really touches a lot of the areas that we look to develop. And we created a GoFundMe campaign. That's the first thing, where you can go online if you have a credit card or a US bank account. You can go online to GoFundMe, and you can look up repairs to roof of Wesley Upper School. All of our members, we have members across the country right now, are sharing this link on their Facebook page as well. But if you go to GoFundMe.com, look up repairs to roof of Wesley Upper School, and you can donate there. We also have where you can send in checks to the Optimist Club 501 Belize, PO Box 443 in Belize City, Belize. We're accepting donations right now via Atlantic Bank. Our Secretary Treasurer's Atlantic Bank account number 200568137. And then if you're in the diaspora, you can also Zelle to either 954-709-1421 or 516-595-6851. We're also accepting donations in kind. If you're a corporation where you feel like you can donate materials, the roofing, the nails, the fascia boards, whatever it is that we need, if you can donate your services as a contractor to help and come in and help to repair the roof, we're accepting that as well. The great thing about community fundraising is that a little bit goes a long way. And when we band together to help, it creates a huge impact. So if you feel like you're only one person and you can't make a change, you really can. If you have $1 to give, if you have $5 to give, if all you have is your time to give, if all you have is the ability to share the information so that people who are able can donate, that's all that is needed to make a difference.
I think that is actually a great note to end our conversation on, because we actually are absolutely out of time. But we definitely want to thank all of you for coming in and sharing all about the Optimist Club. So once again, if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yes, let me give you 2 phone numbers here. The first is for our administrative assistant, Miss Miriam Paz, and her phone number is 670-7450, 670-7450. And our Secretary Treasurer, her name is Miss Darlene Gentle. Her phone number is 615-1601, 615-1601. So if you want to find out more information, obviously, as Ms. Angela and Mr. Panton said, we're new, so we're still working on getting our social media presence up and our website up. We're still recruiting members. So if you're interested in being a part of this movement, you can reach out to those 2 women, and they will give you more information about the fundraiser, send you information about how you can become a member as well.
All right. Well,
just a short plug before you go.
Sure.
Right ahead. If I could do that. Yes. I just wanted you guys to know that we are from a very large family. Actually, from the onset, we have over 3,000 club members worldwide, spread throughout 20 countries.
Wow.
So we are new, but we have a big family. And the clubs are actually divided in tiers, 3 tiers. We have developed clubs, developing clubs, and we also have pilot projects, of which we from 501 Belize are fall in the latter. So we do have a wide area to grab from and to learn, and as we are new. But with a big family like that, we positively can move. We are also the second Optimist club in Belize. There's one that was before us, and that's OC Belize. So we also have been in contact with them and we'll be working with them also. So it's a family that will spread the goodness and the wellness for everyone.
We certainly hope so. And we definitely wish you guys all the best in your initiatives, your fundraising, and all of the other projects which you will hopefully accomplish in the near future. But with that said, we are going to be taking a short break, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about some trending topics, and then we're going to wrap up the show. So we'll be right back after a short break.
Life can be tough when a loved one suddenly departs. Dependents of the deceased are sometimes left alone to pick up the pieces and may be stranded financially. Fortunately, the Social Security Board provides survivor's benefit to ease the burden. Survivor's benefit is paid to a widow or widower, children under 18 years, or up to 21 years if attending school, or dependent parents. A survivor's benefit can be either a grant or a pension. Want to know more about survivor's benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Imagine going through your entire day without the burden and risk of carrying cash on you. Belize's shift to digital wallets has begun. With eCash, we can now skip the cash when collecting money or paying for our essentials, all while using a fast, easy, and secure platform. Simply add funds to your wallet via bank transfer or at an agent, and you're good to go. You will be able to make quick, easy payments simply by scanning QR codes. And best of all, it all happens just like that. Payments are as easy as clicking a link online or scanning a QR code. Download the eCash app from the Google Play and Apple App Store today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. The future is here with eCash. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257 to find out more.
It's a fact that your credit lasts longer when using Smart. During these times, we're all trying to find ways to cut costs and save the little resources we have. With Smart, it's easy to do that. It's a fact that with Smart, your credit lasts longer. You can call Smart to Smart and Smart to Digi using your promo credit, while with the other guy, you can only call on-net, Digi, or BTL numbers. What does this mean? You get to call any national number using your promo credit. Your promo credit is free, so that call is also free. Know your facts. Don't be tricked by the other guy. Be smart and save your dollars.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 5 Caribbean Media Awards for 2019 and 2020. Best Television News Item, Best Responsible Coverage of Children's Issues, Best Health Education Journalism, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with special mention by the jury in the Best Television News Item category.
And we are back. And if you're joining us now, we're just wrapping our show up. But before we do that, we are going to talk about some trending topics that have been going on, as we usually do every Tuesday. Now, this week's show, we're going to start off on a little bit of a sober note because the topic is we're going to talking about some sad incidents, actually. Over the weekend, there was the Astro World Festival that was held in Houston. And unfortunately, there were a lot of security issues and issues with organizing the crowds. And unfortunately, what that resulted in is that people broke down some barriers. There were crowds, there were stampedes in some areas, and it resulted in several people being seriously injured, and it unfortunately resulted in the deaths of 8 people who were attending that concert. And of course, this is extremely tragic news to talk about, and we want to offer our sympathies to anyone who's to the families and loved ones of people who lost their lives. But of course, this has been a huge topic that was trending on social media over the past few days because these issues were apparent to a lot of the concert goers. And so a lot of clips were circulating online of people actually trying to tell festival organizers, camera people, to stop the show we're doing, and that didn't happen, of course. And then, of course, it resulted in the tragic loss of life. Of course, the festival was headlined by the rapper Travis Scott, and there were a lot of other artists there as well. But as he was, of course, the headliner, people are looking to him. He did, of course, release a comment on his Instagram video along with his girlfriend, Kylie Jenner. Of course, they are extending their sympathies to those who lost their lives as well. But of course, in the next coming days, I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot about this as well, learning about what went wrong and who's going to ultimately be responsible. So I did want to share about this because it is, of course, it's been talked about a lot. It's a developing story. Of course, it took place in Houston, and it was a huge, huge event which did generate a lot of discussion on social media and just about how concerts are being held in general. Now, switching to tragedies of a more different nature. These are talking about affairs of the heart. Now, I'm sure that by now probably you will have heard some news about Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, who seem to be going through a lot of marital issues at any given time. Normally, I wouldn't be that interested in the personal lives of celebrities and people I don't know, but it seems that there's always publicity about these two, and they often publicly discuss their own relationship issues, which is the bigger thing and which is why there's a lot of buzz. Recently, it's been Jada doing a lot of the talking more, especially and traditionally from her Red Table Talk show. And of course, we've discussed on this show before the big news about the entanglement and the respective affairs and all of the drama that goes on between them. But of course, that generates a lot of memes and a lot of discussion online, and we see lots of funny ones here talking about Jada Pinkett, who's always, basically discussing their relationship issues, airing it out. And I gotta say, I do feel I feel for anybody who's going through this, but I do feel a little bit sorry for Will Smith too but we do hear one side of the story. Of course, Will Smith is also going to be releasing a book. So he has been discussing some of these issues that he's had in his marriage and with his children as well. And he's going to interview with Oprah is going to be released very shortly where he discusses some of this as well. So as you see, Popcorn weighed in as well and saying to free Will Smith. But of course, we hope that they do work it out. They seem to be, they're still together, so we hope that everything goes okay for them. But until then, if they keep talking, they're gonna keep having some memes, and I'm gonna keep enjoying them as well. And finally, turning to some local memes that we are talking about. One clip that initially went viral on TikTok was a video of somebody who actually caught a thief in the act in his house, and of course he decided to video that and post it to TikTok, and he's also catching the thief's embarrassed reaction. The funniest part of the video, if you've seen it already, even though we're just showing some memes from here, is that the thief kind of slowly backs away, climbs back out of the window, and then replaces the louver that he took out in the beginning. So it's a really hilarious video. Of course, the guy has some choice words, the guy who caught him has some choice words for him who broke into the house, but of course we've seen lots of funny memes coming out about the guy climbing back out. So we see about when you get caught eating Milo out of the can, several other things we saw showing up, and if you haven't seen the video, it's all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so you don't have to have TikTok. Just look it up. It's super, super funny, and we don't know what's happened to the guy, but it certainly has produced a lot of funny memes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gavin,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the first time I saw that video, I laughed. The theme's reaction, his reaction, he instantly slid out of that window He instantly slid out of that window in the same manner that he slid in.
Yeah.
I put in back the louver, and he was like, "Don't have a meeting inside."
Yeah, right. That's like the best case of it wasn't me that I've ever seen.
That was so funny.
But of course, those were the trending topics this week. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what people have been speaking. Oh, there we go. We've got the video right there.
Yeah.
We just wanted to give you a little bit of these trending topics. There he goes, climbing back out the window.
So funny. And it's in all seriousness, it's breaking in and entering. But
yeah, it is. But luckily, it doesn't seem as though anybody was hurt, and of course, nothing was taken. So there is. So it seems perhaps all's well that ends well, and we're able to think the situation is quite funny now.
Right.
But that is all the time we do have for today. So if you want to contact us at Open Your Eyes, you can send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. But that's all for now until tomorrow morning when you tune in and
open your eyes.
Start your morning right. But until then, you want to keep your mind, your eyes,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon and enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.